So I should talk very clearly.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank
Good
you.
prosody. So this is the online safety and anti-scamming, which is avoiding scams, for the Story Valley Writing Conference of 2024. And a short history on myself, just vocationally. So I initially worked in the cybersecurity division at Blizzard, which is still a video game company. And then I transferred with that in San Jose to work for Amazon Web Server Systems, which deal with their like peer-to-peer servers. And then more recently, I made a career change and ended up in teaching, actually, writing curriculum for CCTE, which is the coding type of classes in public schools in California. So a quick table of contents of the stuff to go over here. The first one is just why is online safety important? Then we're going to go on to common online scams to look out for. And then we're going to delve into specifically scams that target writers and upcoming writers. Then we're going to go through recognizing red flags and how to stop scams and kind of spot them. And then we're going to end with online awareness and good practices with browsing and working online, as well as larger ideas for overall protection. So our communication, especially now with the internet, is just constantly online, where everyone, including writers, are the majority of communications, especially with our writing and with online groups, is done online. And according to Gallup News, which collects data and analyzes it, 15% of people in the United States state that they were victims of one or more scams within the last year. This is scams being defined as where money is being sent or provided to another individual through illicit means. So this is someone being tricked or their account getting hacked into and then them losing financial loss or time loss due to it. And the scariest or the most frightening online scam generally is identity theft. And this is because it's extremely hard to correct. Because when you are communicating with someone in person, if you're talking to a bank official or something, it's very easy to show them that you are who you say you are. You can use identification, you can use paper, you can use all those things, and also just physically looking at the person. But online, it's very difficult to determine someone's identity. And when you call in to claim that someone's stolen your identity, the person on the other line, who's the official, is trying to determine that you are you. And that is quite difficult with things that can be scammed, which is the importance of passwords, but it's also the importance of protecting our personal information. Identity theft is also really scary because it isn't just losing kind of a short financial loss. I mean, with identity theft, the thieves can buy houses in your name. They can make credit or get credit cards in your name, set up bank accounts in your name, which is very difficult to fix afterward. And for writers specifically, because their writing or your writing is very hard work, sharing it online for editing, socializing, etc., can also be kind of scary because it can be stolen that way, not by just other readers, but by websites and app creators themselves. But more on that and apps terms of service stuff later in a later part. Primarily the main type of scam that people encounter and have to deal with are called phishing scams with PH. And this basically refers to when the scammer contacts you and they're pretending to be someone who's important or a trusted figure. So very common phishing scams, or the most common really, are like if you get a text message from a friend or utility company asking for a confirmation info, so asking for your name, address, etc. information, or you get a phone call from the IRS or other government body, like a robocall type of thing, that asks for your bank number or social security number because you owe them money. Usually it comes with threats and things to kind of scare you. Or you receive an email from a bank asking you for information, and they claim that if you give them specific information, then it'll give you a discount on something like a new account or savings, similar. And lastly, here is a website which looks like the login screen to Facebook. But when you sign into Facebook, like a username or password and all those things, to press enter, instead of it sending you to Facebook's proper address, it just refreshes the page or goes to google.com or something similar and nothing happens. This is HTTPS phishing, which basically is someone who made a website that looks like a real website, but when you type your info in, it just stores the info so that they then have access to your username and password instead of it being encrypted. Yeah, where's the next one? I have to take a look at the chat here. Okay. Sorry about pause because the chat's going. So the thing though is these scams. So these scams I just said, these are actually old. Like these are circa 2004. Like these are old scams. They still are happening now, but most of us have kind of sussed out that these are scams. So if we get a call and it says this is the IRS, you owe money, and it's like a terrible robot voice, we kind of don't really fall for that. The majority of us. These are examples of more advanced modern scams that are happening in the past four or so years, mostly due to AI technology, which are kind of scary. So, for example, you receive a phone call from a family member asking you to send them money or for your bank address number so that you can wire them money to help pay with their bills. But instead of it being just a text message, this is a phone call. It's a phone call with your daughter or child or parent or spouse in their voice talking to you back and forth, asking for the money because of whatever tribulation they have. This is called voice phishing, and AI actually only needs 30 seconds of audio of someone talking to generate a rather accurate AI voice that sounds like them. But the key with determining if a voice is AI, aside from if it's just kind of suspicious, because I mean, if they have like Venmo, like why wouldn't they just ask you to like Venmo them money instead of bank number? Bank number is kind of a weird request. But aside from that, with voice phishing, you can tell because AI generation is very effective at prosody. And prosody, when you speak, is basically the intonation. It's the kind of ebb and flow of your speaking. It's very accurate at the ebb and flow. But what it's not accurate at is actually, interestingly, the diction and the vocabulary. So if Amber or one of the other creators and founders of Story Valley, the server and the community, if she was called me or was calling in, I would be able to determine if it's really her or if it's someone else, not just because of the prosody and her accent, because she's Canadian, but also the fact that she is using vocabulary or she's using contractions she wouldn't normally use. That's a main way of determining that something is kind of up. And this is a very new thing because AI is a new thing. And this is, I mean, it's a little spooky to get a phone call from a member of your family who's very scared or otherwise upset, needs money, that type of information, and not just react emotionally to it. But this is unfortunately the world that we now live in. Another one is you receive a brand deal from a popular social media account. And the social media account has like 500,000 followers. There's engagement on all their posts. So there's like back and forth and commenters. And it looks kind of legit. But when you are talking to them, they send you to a link, which is a form that looks maybe even like a Google Forms form asking you for your information, right? So your name, your address, your account to pay the money to, etc. This is called angler phishing, and it's basically the social media account is fake. Well, it's not fake. It actually has 500,000 followers, but most of those are bots and they're fake followers, and they're just pretending to be associated with this very common brand. And that if you do give them all that information, then they get all your information and they actually don't work for sponsoring you from, some large brand. Which, I mean, this is also kind of a crazy thing because you normally in the past couldn't generate 500,000 followers just instantly, but today we can do that with algorithms and bots. The next one is an authentic email from a trusted org. But when you click on it, the links in it, it actually redirects to a fake website. And this is called clone phishing. This is what happens when a company like Google, if someone hacks into or gets the password information for their API, which is their web server, they can then generate emails from Google that actually have whatever they want on them. This, of course, isn't your fault. It's not the user's fault. This is, it's Google's fault in that case for getting their information compromised. But because legally companies can wait up to 30 days before they disclose if they've been compromised by something, with your passwords and stuff being disclosed, that if you do have something suspicious that happens and it looks like a suspicious email, even if it's from Google, you should still kind of double check where the link goes and so forth. That's in a later slide of how to spot those things. And the last one is an actual email from a family member account asking you to go to a linked social to view a picture. And the email is actually from the actual family member. And this is called smishing, which is a funny name, but it's basically where someone you know has had their account compromised, and that person who's compromised it, they're sending out messages to others to try to get them also compromised. This is actually a pretty old tactic, but nowadays it's a bit more aggressive because in the past, they had to have an attachment or something which would explode when you open it. Nowadays, they can just send you to social links to sign into places, and then people just assume that it's the correct place because they trust their family member who sent it to them. This is an actual, sorry, I actually have it here. So this is an email that I got from Reddit. I actually think I might put it up here because it's a bit bigger. So this is an email from Reddit. Notice that Gmail actually marked it as spam. That's why it has the "is this not spam" thing on there. This actually is from Reddit. This is like a real email, but so it's not spam. Well, it might be spam if you don't like Reddit. But the key with this, though, which you might have noticed, is all of the images. This little icon. These are normally images that are like visible. It's like their banner and all that stuff that Reddit would have. The reason why Gmail in this case has automatically blocked these from showing up is because when you view an image and it loads on your screen, you have downloaded it. Like, you have downloaded it. So if you go to google.com and it has the little Google image logo there, that image is now saved as a cookie on your browser. Like, it's saved to your computer. This isn't like the past where you had to like click on it to open it and then save it to your computer, and then you open it and then it explodes and does bad things. It's like the image itself, when you load it, is you downloading it. This is why if your phone is full of data and you're with your friends sending text, pictures back and forth, and videos, all of those videos in the chat are downloaded to your device also because they're accessible to it, which is why your device might be full. And this is also why when you get something that could be a scam and Google or Gmail tells you this is suspicious, this could be a scam, it blocks all the images. And there's a button at the bottom saying, view original email, which shows all the images. But if you don't trust what's happening with that, it's not advised to click on that. It's just something that people don't usually recognize, that when you see an image, they assume that they haven't downloaded it, but they have, because otherwise how they get access to the image. These are common scams that are more directed towards writers, right? Because many of us might be upcoming writers. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You might have even encountered some of this in the past in trying to get published in similar. This is like fake editors, publishers, and otherwise people who offer to represent your work, but they're disingenuous. This is also connected to like fee scams, which is where someone asks you for upfront payment before they're able to deliver the service, and they usually kind of just ghost or just don't deliver the service. And then phishing scams that pretend that they're going to help with advertising your work, but when you then give them your work to help advertise, they then just steal it. Especially if it's not copyright, you have to take them to court, and then it's a whole thing. And it's even harder if they're not even like a company or a group that's in the same country as you. If they're from Thailand, if they're from China, if they're from a different place, it's going to be really hard to get that money back. So next, is the next one? Yeah. The next section here is identifying red flags. So red flags is kind of a common name, but it refers to something that stands out, and it basically causes doubt on the legitimacy of a message, a situation, or an offer, which red flags are good to look at least regarding our discussion here. And these are the most common red flags. We've got spelling and grammar mistakes, suspicious links, requesting money information, and urgency. So spelling and grammar mistakes is actually kind of silly. If you've been around since the early 2000s, when you would get emails asking you to send money to some prince in the Congo or something, those had, this example too, has a lot of spelling mistakes, but you might think that it's a translation issue, but this is actually intentional. Because if they send out 500,000 of these blast emails and there's a spelling mistake on the first sentence, what's going to happen is they're not going for every single person. They're not trying to scam 500,000 people. They're trying to get a few people who are likely to fall for their scam. And they've recognized that people who tend to care about spelling and punctuation, which is probably most of us, for those of us who are writers, are not generally going to be scammed by them. And so compared to people who are maybe a bit less savvy with the internet, or people who are even younger, like people who are under 25 who don't spell correctly themselves, when they see misspellings, they just kind of gloss over it and keep going into the message. So they're actually intentionally weeding out a population of people who they assume are intelligent, which is in most cases intelligent enough to not even be scammed to send money in the first place. Which is actually why spelling and grammar mistakes are intentionally inserted into theirs. Which, I mean, if you know that they're in there, and it kind of saves you time, I guess. This is actually, so this is like a really old one from the like 2005 or so. The ones nowadays are going to talk about sending cryptocurrency, sending stuff like that with deposits and asking for your bank information. That's just kind of them modernizing the language, because yeah, cryptocurrency is a thing of the past 6 years or so. And yeah, this also debates it too. Suspicious links is the next one. So, and I blocked out the link there because it's a suspicious link, so don't go there. But a suspicious link, basically, to solve your problem or whatever, is something that you should consider before clicking on. If you see the link, the words of the link are irrelevant, because you can make it say google.com and then actually hyperlink it to anything you want. But if you right click on the link instead of left click it, you actually can see where it goes to. That's actually a main thing that you can do. Another misspelling, which is shown here, is the email that it's being sent from is actually misspelled. And this is because Amazon at Gmail is taken, even though Amazon wouldn't use Gmail, they would use at Amazon, but whatever. It's taken. And so the person who's pretending to be that, they have to misspell it, with 2 N's or something, and hope that people don't notice. And yeah, they wouldn't use at Gmail. They would use at, Amazon packaging, basically, is .com. But yeah, that's the next one. The, whoops. Yeah, I have to go back to. Okay. The next one is the requesting information. You might have noticed that on the examples, all of them, every single example asks you to give them information. If your credit card gets compromised and the bank calls you, or they send you a text saying, hey, are you in Thailand? A payment was just made from there. And you say, no, I'm not. They're not going to, the person on the phone isn't going to say, okay, give me your info again. They have your info. Obviously, they have your info. It's the bank. What the person on the phone is going to say is they're going to say, okay. Go to our nearest location, at whatever near location to you, and talk to a person there. Or if it's an email, they're going to say, okay, get your credit card, turn it around, and call that number, which is the official bank number. Notice that the person sending the message to you, the text or email, and the person calling you, that person, like that dude or dudette, do not get any information from you whatsoever. And in the case of scammers, they want your information. And so if it's an email and it seems kind of fishy, but the person emailing, there's no link to go somewhere, there's no download this, there's no at all, it's just like a warning email or something like that, it's probably not a direct scam. It might be spam, but it isn't a direct scam because the person's not trying to get something from you, which is the case of that. And the last one here too is urgency, urgency is just because it makes people think more emotionally, which is, just saying as soon as possible, or saying as fast as you can, or the IRS wants you to pay it back, otherwise it expires in 3 days, like those types of things. And that's just kind of tries to scare people to think with their emotion, which means you don't think too well. The main thing to think through here is that scams, even though it's kind of scary, maybe for some of you listening, scams are not individualized, meaning someone isn't building up their scam for you, like just you. They're applying a scam and then sending it to hundreds, even hundreds of thousands of accounts or people. So what this means is these general defenses here are very effective at protecting yourself from scams, because they're just looking for the low-hanging fruit. Like they're looking for the people who don't do these best practices, because if they send out 500,000 emails and they get 1% responders sending the money, that's a lot of money that they've gotten back. The key is just not being that 1%, because of having a bit more awareness. So with being safe, The first thing is don't share personal info over public forums and social media. This is a little hard to do because you kind of want to get yourself out there, your name and stuff like that. But there's a difference between sharing your name and like maybe even your vocation, like what you do, and sharing your like neighborhood you live in, or tagging in Facebook, basically where your address is, which is what a lot of people do when they go on vacations, which is not very smart, in my opinion. This also is kind of connected to verifying websites, links, and files before accessing them. If something seems kind of suspicious or the emails are worded weird, you're like, it's from Amazon, but it's worded weird, double check the person who sent it, double check the different parts of it to make sure that it's okay. The next part is to protect your accounts. This is basically passwords. And I know that the thought of having a different password, crazy different password for every single thing you sign into is asinine. I mean, I'll just say it, and I'm a cybersecurity person. It's crazy to think that, for you to memorize 40 different passwords for all the different things you use. So I'll share a secret that I use actually for mine. So what I do is I take all my accounts and I layer them. And what this basically means is I go, okay, all of the accounts I don't care about, like, the Quora account I had to sign up for one time 6 years ago to view a thing I had to for my work, but I don't use it anymore. If it was hacked, I wouldn't care. All of those have a basic password that's 10 characters long. And I go, okay, those have 10-character passwords. And they're all the same password even. It doesn't really matter because they're all kind of not relevant, right? The next thing I do is then I go, okay, what's the next layer? This is like accounts that I don't really care if they get hacked. It would be annoying to fix it, but it's not like I use them every day. And I take those and I take my 10-character password and I add 5 more characters to it, random or what have you. So now my better password is 15 characters, and it's pretty easy to remember because it's the basic one with the 5 additional characters. I then have the next layer, and this is like useful social medias that I use. This is like Discord and stuff like that I use, but not like, this isn't bank stuff. This is just like social media stuff and stuff I use. Those have an even longer password, add 5 or 6 more characters onto it. And then it goes up to the very top, and this is, the bank stuff. This is the stuff where if it was compromised, you'd be very upset and have to fix all that. It'd be crazy to do. So it actually is 5 different passwords or more, but they're all the same kind of base password. That helps your brain to remember, so you don't have to carry a notebook around with you to like memorize passwords and stuff like that. That's actually a main thing that I do. And that's how it works. Although actually for my proper work in cybersecurity, we actually had to change our passwords every single 2 weeks. So it was different. But and in addition to that is 2FA. So 2FA is two-factor authentication. For those who don't know what 2FA is, that basically means that I try to sign into my Facebook, for example, and it says, oh, your password is correct, your username is correct, but we just sent you a text message to your phone with the 5-digit code. Type that in here. So I get my phone, pops up because the text is sent, and I type it in, boom, I'm signed in. The reason why this is useful, it's two-factor because it's 2 different devices, is because if someone gets my password for Facebook, let's say, and they try to sign in, I'm going to get a text. And as long as they don't have my phone, which they probably won't, they can't actually sign in. And I will know because I'll get a text saying, here's your Facebook stuff. And I'll say, I'm not signing into Facebook. So I'll know someone stole my account, and then I can sign in proper and then change the information on it. That's 2-factor. Some mistake people use is they do 2-factor, but they do it for Instagram on their phone. If you have 2-factor on the same device, it's not 2-factor. Because if someone steals your phone, they get a text to the phone that they have already logged into Instagram. So ensure that your 2-factor is actually 2 different devices factors. So computer phone or tablet phone or something like that. If you do it on the same device, it's not going to work. Government systems actually use 3-factor, which takes a while to sign in, but it's kind of worth it for that. And then the last thing, and this is just general financial advice, is to monitor your accounts often. I mean, this is check your credit report each month, make sure nothing suspicious is happening, especially if you go to a website you haven't used before. So like if you go to Etsy.com, for example, which is kind of a place where third-party people buy and sell things, and you've never used it before and you're kind of suspicious of it, then if you buy something from it because it's unique or it's homemade and it's only there, check your credit report just, that month. Make sure that the money was exchanged. Make sure there wasn't more exchanged. Make sure that when you entered your credit card stuff, they didn't actually charge $1,000 instead of $100. To Etsy's credit, Etsy is a secure site, just so you know, for those who haven't used it. But if you do sign up for a site and then purchase something off of it, and it's just kind of like a new purchase, or it's from UK, or it's from a different country, or it's a different place, do be vigilant just with regards to making sure that if that does happen, you can kind of immediately talk to your bank and then figure it out. So it's kind of just about being cognizant instead of kind of just letting things happen, because things are digital now, things are virtual now. It's really hard. I mean, someone isn't stealing $50 from your wallet, when they pickpocket you like it used to be. It's all online. You can't see it unless you're looking for it. Okay, well, I was going to ask here, which so a really old school thing, if you use Facebook in the back in the day, I'm talking like 2012, like circa 2012, 2014, there were these things that were prolific. They were called Facebook quizzes, and they were super silly. It was like, things connected to Disney, things connected to pop culture, things connected to just silly stuff. And these quizzes, some of them were just silly and people made them and they were just kind of, having fun and stuff. But some of them also asked you questions like this. And what they were doing is they were asking you for your personal security questions, which is actually a security threat. So because when you set up a bank account, for example, when you call them, they have to verify that you are you. And so they say, what's your name? What's your address? But they're not going to ask you your password for the computer. They're going to ask you something that you told them initially. Like they're going to ask you what the street you grew up on, or your first pet, or the first car you drove, the make and model. They're going to ask you those questions because that's what you signed up for, or that's what you told them when you signed up to confirm that you are you. And there are some people in Facebook who are just giving this information to the people who made this quiz, which is really, really unwise. It's really unwise because now they can call the banks that they think you're at and then pretend they're you and then answer these things to see if, they actually work or not, or they can set stuff up or get money from your accounts. So yeah, this is connected to the don't publicize personal information online, because it seems like this is all silly information, but we do use this information because it's generally something that only you know, and maybe some family members or your spouse might know, but no one else really. So yeah, don't publicize those things. It's not good. So scams for writers specifically, this is the main key with this for solving and helping writers from getting scammed is research your agents and your publishers is the first thing. If someone comes to you through social media or otherwise, and they're like offering you the world, it feels too good to be true. Do some research on who that person is or who that company is. Have they helped previous people? Even this isn't just about browsing through their own website. This is like browsing through even sites, because people complain when they get screwed over, which is a good thing to do. And this is even connected to seek out legal advice. I mean, it doesn't have to be lawyers per se, but be careful of just signing contracts or sending your full manuscript to someone who you haven't met, even virtually met. I mean, and this is also the importance of a community. I mean, with the example of Story Valley and similar writing communities, community members protect each other. That's kind of one of the benefits of the community. So if someone's applying to a thing, they ask their community members hey, so is this person legit? Does someone know this person? What's up with this person? And the community members, even if they can suss out what's not good, and if someone has a negative experience with someone, they can clarify to their community saying, so I actually had some problems with that guy in the past. I recommend this, or that, so forth. And I mean, the opposite could happen too, which if someone says, hey, do you know a really good editor for this genre I'm working on? Then a community is one who can really kind of bump you up and help you out instead of you just kind of Googling things, which is going to end up with a bunch of scams and ads and stuff like that. So on the Discord, I have screenshots here of it too in this slide for those not on Discord. But on the Discord, I posted 4 example emails. Some of them were them being real emails from the past. And I asked people to kind of thumbs up if they thought they were safe, or thumbs down if they were scams or not, which was kind of a mixture on the Discord. So going through them real fast, this first one is a FedEx delivery. I blurred out the name just because it's privacy reasons. And they say it's left at the front door, and there's a button to view in the browser. So this is actually a scam. And we can tell this is a scam because the address, it's only one thing. It's the address. The address is from FedExX.com. And FedEx does not have 2 X's. It has 1 X. So this means that someone got the domain for FedEx, but they wanted to scam as FedEx. So they just add 1 extra X onto it, hoping people don't notice. Because, yeah, FedEx's actual domain is 1X, which is there. So yeah, this one is indeed, yes, a scam. Our next one here is from Chase, and it's Rackspace is one of their subsidiaries with regards to selling power tools, I believe is what they sell. And on this one, this is suspicious, but it's not because of the email where it's from, because this actually is connected to their support desk. It's based on ID numbers, but it's the fact that the link that they sent, this person right-clicked on it, which pops up the actual URL. And the actual URL is thefitdollar.com, which is not Rackspace, and it's not Chase. It's actually not connected to them at all. So this link looks like it's a Rackspace link for this company, but really it's this other link because they just put the text in there as what it shows. So this one also, Chase bank account, is also a scam. We can also tell this is a scam as well, too, because they state they've suspended the login access, and some or all of your emails may be deleted. So this is generating urgency, right? It's making the person kind of fearful and scared, like, what? My emails are gone? Actual companies do these types of things, but they don't like scare you into it. They say like, your account's inactive for 2 years. We're going to wipe your stuff on this date, kind of a thing. They don't just like say, you know, you better fix it. Otherwise we're going to, that kind of a thing. Our next one is from Cox, which is a home bill for a phone. And this one actually is legitimate. This is a legitimate one. We can tell that, one, because the account information and the address are correct. I blocked it out for privacy. And the link, it goes to a website, which is cox.com/mybill/login access. So this is, we can tell from the name.com and that this is actually from the proper company because that's the company that it's being addressed to. So this one is not a scam. And our last one, this one, which is from the National Security Department in quotes, but what's really awkward about this one is they're using a Gmail account. The FBI does not use Gmail. They use their own government site. This actually is their actual address, which is foipaquestions.fbi.gov. But this is, it's actually foipa.fbi@gov. That's actually what their actual email extension is. So this person tried to pretend to be that, but they're actually using a Gmail account. So you can tell it's not actually from the government, even though the person has put the seal and they made it look official and they have the address at the bottom and stuff like that. So this is also a scam as well. And this is just really silly, like Apple FaceTime mobile. Okay. So yeah, now for the elephant in the room. Oh yeah, thank you for doing that. So the elephant in the room is social media. There actually is another panel here which deals with social media, so I'm not going to tread on those footsteps there. But I just want to address it with regards to legality with content, and safety with content. So you do own, according to their terms of service, of almost all of the social media companies, at least the ones that are based in North America. You do own what you post on them. So it's your copyright, it's your own work. So if you post snippets of your writing, if you post your cover art, if you so forth, you do own those. You actually, there's a really cool website, which is called TOSDR.org. It's short for Terms of Service Didn't Read. And this basically, it has a bunch of terms of service, which a group of nonprofit lawyers put together into layman's terms. So like the one for Facebook, for example, is ridiculous. It's very super long. But the big thing in this is we can see you maintain ownership of your data. That is one of the terms of service. And if that is not in the terms of service, then you probably don't own the data that you put up there, meaning you are kind of foregoing the license to the respective company. The terms of service for Facebook, for example, do state, though, that you give permission for them to use what you post without your explicit permission and without paying you anything. So they can use anything you post in advertisement or with their third-party stuff or anything they want without telling you, which is not explicitly telling you, without asking for permission, and without paying you anything. So that is something to be aware of, just with regards to not publishing like large portions of your writing or key images in your writing. Like if it's a story, like an image-based novel or book, like for children, or the cover of the book or so forth, just recognize that when you post that to social media, you're giving permission due to the terms of service that you accepted, because you're actually using the app for the company to use it however they would like to use it without paying you. Normally, that doesn't really happen that much. I mean, they might take a snippet and use it as an inspirational quote or something, but the thing that I advise to do, because I mean, the answer isn't just don't use social media, right? That isn't the answer, or it isn't a good answer. It is to, I recommend adding a um, either a disclaimer or a watermark to your writing. I mean, just at the top, just the bottom, or just in the image in the corner. It doesn't have to be like a massive thing that blocks out the image. It's just with the intent of two things. The first being that the social media company is less likely to use it if they have to Photoshop out a watermark, is the first thing. And if you put a disclaimer just saying this is my copyright property, or this is property of your account, they're less likely to take it and use snippets, because that kind of implies that you're more legally minded, as in you might like actually try to sue them or something to get them to take it down. So and they have billions of images to choose from and stuff. So they're usually going to choose a different one. The second reason too is it does make clarity where the social media company does have access to your stuff, but other users do not. They do not have access to use your stuff. So if someone else takes your picture, uses it for their own thing without your permission, explicit permission, that is actually against the law. So the watermark and disclaimer just show, oh, this is that, you know, tells the person trying to steal the stuff, you have to take this out, and that kind of assigns guilt as well too. Where if they publish something and it's actually yours and you take them to court, it's much easier to say, here's the original and it has this and they took this out. It pretty much closes the case compared to having to explain that it's yours and show your drafts and all those things. I think we're almost closing up here, but Amazon publishing. So Amazon, this is speaking in the US. I do not know about other countries, unfortunately, but it's probably similar. So Amazon publishing, they do let you publish a novel, even like a book, without copyright on that book, explicit copyright. But they also let anyone publish anyone else's book without copyright. So I strongly recommend, before publishing a book to Amazon, getting correct copyright of your manuscript or your novel or your short stories or your whatever it happens to be. In the US, if it's electronically sent out and delivered, it's only like $45. At least that was of, I think, 2023. It's a bit more. I think it's $125 if it's in print. But yeah, I strongly recommend that, just because it kind of solidifies that it's yours, so that if anything does happen and something happens with someone else, you can solidify that you actually have the copyright 100%. You do have to actually insert the copyright page, like in the start of the novel. You have to put that in there manually by yourself, or like when you submit it to Amazon. They don't do it for you, even if it is copyright. So be aware of that with your editor or whoever's helping you put it together, or if it's yourself putting it together, that too, if you do get a proper copyright, to make sure to add that. Again, this is just with regards to the legalese in the US. Other countries have different laws, so check that out, especially connected to Amazon. But I think it's probably pretty global. And then closing out for question and answer stuff, we have some larger knowledge things for protection. The password extension method is what I mentioned before, which was the 10-character password, and then adding more to it based on the severity or the significance of the actual thing that it's for. I also do recommend writing your passwords down. I don't mean sticky notes. Please do not be like my parents and grandparents of the past, who would put stickies on their laptops with their Please do not do that. Oh my gosh. But I do recommend having just like a notebook, a small one, maybe even. Put your passwords in that, and then put it in the secure place in like the lockbox of your house, like with your, with your social security card and with your passport, just putting it there. And it's helpful just for posterity, which is, if something terrible happens to you, family member, etc., and your children or your people who are dealing with your stuff is like, what's the bank account access? They can find that stuff with the other stuff, and then it's much easier for them to put stuff together, instead of having to prove the identity of someone who might be deceased or otherwise incapacitated. The other reason too is if sometime you're like, oh man, I haven't logged into Reddit for years. What's my Reddit password? Instead of being like, and then going through all the recover password and then recall a new password and then do all that stuff, you can kind of just go back and check it and just grab it real fast and go like, oh, okay, whoops, and then put that back. So it is helpful. Just don't put it like on your countertop or somewhere where your kids can get it somehow. Yeah, a physical booklet is good. I keep one too in a secure place just in case. Next is to be aware of your keychain password. So a lot of people don't recognize this is how technology works. So if someone gets your phone and someone knows your phone's password, like the number password or the draw password, if it's an Android phone, they have access to every password on your phone that's been saved. Like every time, if you open Instagram and it does not ask you for username and password every time, the person who gets your passcode of your phone has access to all of that. And this is even more egregious with your computer. If Google Chrome signs in automatically for a lot of things, if someone gets your computer's master password, they have access to every single other password you have saved on there. This is a pretty easy way to get compromised. Is if someone gets this master password, which is to your phone or to your computer, then they have access to all the saved passwords. Because when you save a password in Chrome, the way to access it is to go to the password keychain, which is in the settings, and then just click to view it. And when you click to view it, it asks for your computer's password to be able to view it. So be very careful with what passwords you save. There are passwords you should never save. Never save automatically your bank password. Never save automatically your Venmo password or a password that has access to your money. At least in my opinion, don't type those in manually every single time you have to use them. Just because, if your device gets stolen or hacked into or something, or it gets compromised, it's obviously a tough life to recover everything that's connected to it. And a lot of people just think save password there. Oh, it's somewhere in the cloud. It's safe now. That's not really how it works. It's stored on the device and it's open with the password. And yeah, that's kind of the closer. Sorry, that's a little doom and gloom for the closer, but that's kind of the closer. I'm gonna read through the chat here if there's any question and answer or anything like that. If anyone has a question answer generally or with regards to the content that has been gone through so far.
Thank you so much. That was really cool. I have one comment and one question.
Okay.
So you were saying, obviously, the scammers, that they will ask for your money or information and stuff. So with us, trying to get our books published, there is a thing called the vanity presses. The vanity presses asks for your money. When you submit it, they often ask for your usual, like your text and stuff, which is fine. But then they'll say, "We'll publish your book. Could you give us such and such amount?" And that both are always scam, because publishers do not ask you for money. They give you money for your book.
Yes. Yes, this is true. This is also connected to editors, right? So if you and this was the reason, the initial mention a few slides ago about community, right? So writing community, which is in like historically before 1998, before the internet, the way that like a writers, usually they wouldn't just hunch over the typewriter and just like bang something out, right? Over 3 years or 2 years or however much time, or 3 months. They had family members, they had friends who would read over, who would edit. And when they'd work with an editor, they would physically deliver the manuscript to the person who is working with them. Nowadays, the internet worlds that we have is entirely different from that, right? There's people who they have editors, and the editors are helpful editors that they trust, and they've never shaken their hand before, as in they never actually met them before, because they could even be in a whole different continent of each other. But so the whole point is similar with security. When you're working with someone who you do not have you cannot ascertain their legitimacy through a physical means. So like going to their office or shaking their hand or similar, establishing an actual contract on paper in person. You have to judge their character through what they can present. And what people present is what they publish online about themselves. This is also with social media, is you should publish about yourself things that keep you safe, but also things that don't go kind of too far into the realm of exposing things that you don't want people to know about. Because if you publish it online, even on a private social media account that's only with friends, that actually is quite public because it's on the internet. And that if someone uses and uploads things to the internet, there should be no case of privacy or no expectation of privacy, unfortunately, because that's the current world that we live in. And with editors, when you work with an editor, some of them might want a payment initial, like a small payment initially, and then maybe at the end when it's done, or something even connected to that. But the whole issue with that is establishing trust, right? So you are working with an editor, not one that you found off of Google or Reddit randomly. You're asking, oh, so what's some previous work that you've done? What's like a catalog that you've worked through? Who are previous people who vouch for you? Or even asking your community, the writing communities that you're in, saying, hey, like, do you know this person? Are they legitimate? Do they have this stuff? But if it's an automated system, or it's like a nebulous company that doesn't have a website and isn't proud of the people that they're helping to edit work with, it's probably a scam. Because actual editors work hard, right? Well, most of them work hard. And when they help someone, they don't like say, please don't put my name, like don't mention my name to anyone. That's not how people work. That's not how people generally work who are proud of their work, right? And so the same is true with online connections to find someone to publish your work.
Also, editors will, a lot of them will, it's very much like when you're looking for an editor, it's very much like a job interview. And like, if you're going to an interview, they're asking you about your work. You're also asking them about theirs. So most people should have like sort of like a trial run. So the editor will say, give me your first 5 pages, like John does that. The first 5 pages, he'll look at it, and you get the results back, and you can decide, like, do it for free. You're supposed to have to do it for free, and then you can decide, okay, I like this style kind of thing, and then you can go further. But if they're not willing to do that, then that is usually no good.
Well, the back and forth there establishes trust, right? Which is kind of, but the point being, if the editor is very legitimate and historically effective, they don't want to waste their time. And so when you're presenting your requests to them of working together on this or collaborating on this, you're checking their legitimacy to make sure they aren't scams or suspicious, and that they'll actually do the work and everything effectively. But they're also checking your legitimacy. So when you actually do present yourself out there, there shouldn't be this expectation that the editor has full trust in you. You should be presenting the first 5 pages, like you said, which is very good to build that trust. Or even like if you're like, I've published these previous books, here's so forth, book examples, things like that of previously published works. That also is a good way to establish that trust and show that legitimacy, which is how you counter scamming.
Well, my question was, how do you tell, like, especially, I know a lot of people when they post their books and stuff, especially if they're selling their books and they have a whole bunch of reviews and whatnot, how do you tell these are bots and stuff?
Oh, for bots, for reviews. Well, a main consideration with botting books, like Amazon-based reviews, let's say, for books, is very easy to spot, because if to give an accurate review of a book, I mean like a legitimate review of a book, you have to have read the book. I mean, so you aren't just saying it's great or it's terrible or it's too boring, or you're stating your opinion of the themes, of the characters, like legit, to show that, and also to help the author on what you're critiquing or what you're complimenting, right? Or criticizing otherwise. That's kind of a positive. This is the same thing where if you're reviewing a book, you have to have read the book and then identified with it or connected to it. If you are reviewing a vacuum cleaner that you're thinking of buying from Amazon, the person has to have used and tested the vacuum cleaner, right? They can't just say it looks ugly. Like they have to actually engage with it. And bots generally, they've not been programmed with that aspect of engagement. Like they haven't actually read the book, right? They're just saying generalities. You can see this on social media also, where if someone has, 500,000 comments on something, actually more like maybe 100 comments on something, and you're looking through the comments and all the comments look the same. Like they're great job, you're amazing, go girl. Like they're all kind of generalities. Sure, some of those are real people who are just super low effort commenters, in my opinion. But generally speaking, it's very easy to write a bot that just gives a generalized compliment or review that isn't actually a legitimate review. So if you're looking at something and it has no actual, more than 4-word reviews that are actually engaging with the story or a character or the plight of the main character or the spoiler at the end, maybe without saying it though, that is usually reviews that are botted or otherwise illegitimate. That case too. I think actually I'm going to show, if I have time, I'm going to show one more thing because this upsets me personally, and I just want to show it to people who are working as writing and also as editors. I have not encountered this happening that often, but sometimes scam editors, what they will do, or like publishing companies that are scams, what they'll do is they'll send you an example. Like, here, oh, here's an example. Here's our here's a a file that has previous people we've helped and worked together with their books. And I just wanted to show, because a lot of these files, when you open them, they're packages, and what that means is like it has a payload in it, which is really bad, which destroys things on your computer, or it quietly installs something which then starts to spy on you through a different type of viruses and malware that exist. And so I just wanted to show this one thing, which is that Windows 10 and Windows 11 and Mac OS, unfortunately, they default to not showing the file name extensions. And what that means is when you're working with a file like this file, it says test1, which is the name of this, and this one says test2.jpg. .jpg is a type of image file, is what it's called. The thing is that what they do is they actually hide the real type of file behind behind the file name that they've given it. So if I go in, this is in Windows, in Mac OS, you right click on it and then say show file extensions. So that's what it's called. But in Windows 10 and 11, on the top bar, you click view and then file name extensions is a checkbox. And now it's going to show all file name extensions. And so you notice that this file is a .jpg file. This is an actual picture, right? So if I open it, it's an actual picture. This one is an MSI file. An MSI file is an executable installer file, which basically it's basically an app that's open in the background that does things. So this is an extremely suspicious file. But what's annoying is, because it says .jpg, Windows in this case thinks it's a PDF. Like, it thinks it's a book file, right? A PDF image file, a text-based image file, because it says .jpg at the end, when really it's an MSI file. This one is a CSV file, which is a comma-separated spreadsheet. So when I open this, it doesn't actually open it in Adobe. It says it's broken. But if I open this in a different program, then it's going to show what it actually is. So this one is just full of text for data that I was loading. And this one's an MSI, which I'm not going to open because it's going to try to install something. So that's just kind of a common sense thing of, when you're sent files, don't just double click on things and just be opening stuff. You want to check if it's suspicious and it's from someone you don't know, you should check to make sure, check the file extension. You also can see the file extension if you go to properties of the file. That will also show it too. It's actual file extension. And then I always turn the extensions on, but that's just making sure that you don't get scammed. And that's kind of an older way, but it's still done today. People who just click on things. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to show that too.
Thank you.
That's that. It's a common thing.
Well, that was super helpful, and I learned a lot. Really, I did. So, and it's so nice because I enjoy listening to you, because you're really passionate about it, and it really shows. But so thank you so much for participating in my conference, and I think I will probably end the recording well. So thank you so much, and have a good night.
You too.